Welcome to Gray Overload, and we have AMD's announcements at Computex, and it was interesting. I enjoyed listening to it. They went through a lot of different stuff, everything from desktop, mobile, server, and but we'll focus more on the desktop. We'll touch on the server stuff because it is, the server stuff is kind of more of a trickle down scenario where, and I like that. I like where you can develop and you have a scalability. I think that's a good design architecture to be able to have. But Zen 5 is announced. You will be anticipating these processors in July. So we have a month to go depending upon where in July they are released. So up to 8 weeks, up to 4 weeks if it's early July. But this is for everyone that is on the AM5 socket or looking to upgrade, here is the next logical step to look to be able to do. You have up to 2x instruction per bandwidth, data bandwidth, and AI performance. This is using kind of like the AVX 512. There's no dedicated MPU on these, which is, I think, a disappointment, especially with mobile getting those MPUs. Is it a huge, deal breaker? I don't think so yet because AI hasn't fully taken off, but it would have been nice to have. Now, they have a 16% increase of IPC, instructions per clock. And one thing I think with this generation, because there's Arrow Lake coming up here from Intel, and depending upon where Arrow Lake kind of sits, where is the pricing of this? If you do some, aggressive pricing on this, maybe put because the four processors they had was the Ryzen 5 60 or 9600 X, the Ryzen 7 9700X, 8, so that's a 6 core, 8 core, and then the 12 core, which is the 9900X Ryzen 9, and then the Ryzen 9 9950X with 16 cores. And what's interesting is that the 8 core and the 6 core are 65 watts, 12 cores 120, and then the 16 cores 170. So the two, I thought that it was 95 last time for those, for at least the 6 core. So that was interesting. We will have to see kind of where these benchmarks sit. AMD's benchmarks, they had that one with the GPUs that was way off, and I am not sold on their GPUs. Now, I am of the mindset where you cut underneath what you think it is, and you over deliver. Under promise, over deliver. But we'll see if that's what AMD did or if they decided to kind of overpromise and underdeliver, which is always a bad thing in reviews when you get hit with it because, well, you said this and we're not getting it. So, inside there they did add up a little bit, right? They didn't announce the X3D, and I would have liked to seen where the X3D might be sitting. Now, they may be playing a cat and mouse game with Intel, right? There's Air Lake coming out. They may want to see where they're positioned, but it would have been a benefit to see where those X3D chips are going to be released, especially if you're getting ready to build. Maybe you just want to build but if you don't need a computer, you might have just sat and wait for the extra. Well, you still might just sit and wait, but it would have been interesting to see where those would have landed for AMD. But I think some of this is where is Arrow Lake going to go, and AMD's trying to let Arrow Lake kind of come out and then crush them with the X3D stuff is my just view of this. One other benefit I liked from AMD was the AM5 socket. Now, if you're on AM5, you're probably going to stick with that. These chips do drop in. Let's say you waiting for the X3D, you drop in a new X3D chip, you get that performance bump, and we just going from there. But the AM5 socket AMD now has stated that it's going to be 2027 and beyond. Now, one thing they didn't fully say is Zen 6 is we're going to be throwing that in this socket. They didn't say that. They didn't um, they didn't jump in and fully just state that. My anticipation is everybody out there, me included, is anticipating Zen 6 is going to be on this platform. You look at AM4, right? They still got new CPUs on that today. What is it, like a 5900 XT and a 5800 XT? And the 5900 is going to be a 16 core. Okay, just downclocked a little bit. And while that is great, but I hope that they're not saying new processors in the same sense where they're still releasing old architectures, but on that platform, right? I do hope it is Zen 6 moving forward. Maybe even you have your um, NPUs and stuff on there with XDNA, which seems to be being well developed. You know, that purchase that they had of Xilinx seems to be paying off there. One other thing with these desktop processors is the new X 870 and the X 870E chipsets. They're AMD skipping 700 series for some odd reason. You know, they can't count over there. Um, if you don't know about naming stuff or how I feel about AMD's naming, go watch a couple of my last videos I did on this, how annoyed I am. But USB 4 is going to be in there, and PCI Gen 5 for the GPU and NVMEs are going to be on there. Going to be, I think, required, and you're going to have higher expo clocks on memory. So, you know, that is a benefit for you if you're going to go and jump into the platform. Now, pricing is going to be a big thing on those too. If the pricing is close from the 670 and you're looking at 670 X670 to an X 870, I would go with the X870, but we'll see if the B series also comes out in the 8 series. You know, there's rumors of that, but it wasn't officially announced. And like I mentioned, you know, on the desktop side, AMD does have some new AM4 CPUs. And I think the continuing support on there, even though it's an older architecture on there, being able to deliver more options for those users that might want to upgrade or, you know, a lower cost option, I think is a great idea. There's a lot of DDR4 out there. There's a lot of motherboards floating around. Let's say you do have an older system. I hopefully get a video out of it this week. Next door neighbor, he had a 2700X. We upgraded it to a 5800X 3D. He likes to game a lot. It works out great, or worked great. So those I think are things that you can take a look at. Overall, I think AMD kind of looks like they're kind of getting back on track here. I felt, you know, it's been a little while since they've had anything. Well, it's been a boring year, right? The first 6 months of this year has been really boring overall. But hopefully AMD can get their cadence back and start getting developing and start, you know, attacking with it. Their naming is not helping them attack things. Their naming is a following position, but you know, if they want leadership and everything else, I figure they should lead in naming. This will move into mobile. Now, AMD decided to screw up the naming in mobile and do their third gen AI processors. What were the first two? Oh yeah, the 7000 and the 8000 series on some of those. Not all of them. But these now have these mobile or Strix Point, right? This isn't Strix Halo, but Strix Point got 50 tops on them, RDNA 3.5, up to 12 cores on these CPUs. The naming is absolutely stupid. They're starting at 300 for this third gen AI processor. I don't know who came up with this name, but anyone that decided and signed off on this name, yeah, they have no insight to anything smart, and their opinions should be ran away with the next time you decide to name anything. Again, if you if you want my feelings on that, watch a couple other videos of how dumb I think those names are. But you know, these Strix Point CPUs in the mobile side of things, I think is going to be a nice little bump for them. It gets them to be the minimum over the minimum requirement for Microsoft's Copilot if that's something that you're looking forward towards. You know, what I'm more interested in is your productivity, your gaming, stuff like that. These look like they're going to be a nice tick up. Well, they're going against the Intel Core Ultras, but they changed the naming, they changed all this stuff. I won't get into the confusing naming of what they decided to do because it's just not worth it. But they have XDNA 2 accelerator, so they're using that as well. So this is a second generation. I'm going to call it second generation. They're calling it third generation. Well, it's XDNA 2, not XDNA 3. Um, but their Zen 5 CPU cores RDNA 3.5. So, you know, they're iterating over it. Looks like that they're going to be able to get into mobile a little bit more and push that. And I hope that they do. I hope that they do push these. And I hope that they're really, you know, leading edge in whatever configuration watts, because now they're going to be configurable watt. They're not all these U's and everything else. It's just one processor with configurable watt or one number nomenclature. Again, I should not get into naming it. It's confusing, but AMD is following in that section and not leading in that section. What I did see, which is really interesting, is one thing that we noticed and we heard about last year, and it was a rumor, but NVIDIA kind of confirmed it, and I mentioned this when I talked about NVIDIA in one of the videos, is that they're going to a yearly cadence for a lot of this AI stuff, and we'll see where that kind of gets them. I think that NVIDIA is kind of going there for not just so much that they have to, it is that they want to. They want to get that yearly cadence out to push them forward to kind of keep getting this AI moving forward. Now, AMD is going to do the same thing. CDNA 4 is going to be, what, next year? And they're going to have a upgraded version of MI300 this year. Double the RAM. It's going to be, what, 200 or more RAM, I should say. Yeah, more RAM. There's going to be, it's MI325X, 288 gigs, HDMI, HBM3, a little bit of performance boost, I thought. Then MI350 for CDNA 4, and then MI400 in 2026. They're going to the yearly cadence. They're trying to attack this AI stuff. What I would be interested to see is some of this XDNA, this AI stuff get pushed into another PCI card, even from NVIDIA. So you could just slap that into your computer, and you could just have a, if you wanted to, an AI compute engine on there with PCI. I think that's a good option. You could integrate this in the processor, but why not put something big for people that want to do desktop acceleration right here? And maybe, that's where MI300X and NVIDIA are going to get to, is just strictly a huge, AI accelerator, right? You got the graphics cards where they go off of. Let's take the next step and make it a pure AI accelerator, no graphics option whatsoever. I think that would be interesting. That's, part of me, wanting to expand the computer. But then they also announced Zen 5 for their server chips. Turing is going to be out. They're really kind of going after and just getting everything out here, AMD wise, on their server side. They're trying to really attack the market. They said that they were at 33% market share in the server side of things, and I think that's a nice, jump. What were they at? Single digit percentage in 2017. So we're 7 years down the road. They're at a third of the market and growing, and I like to see that. I like to see competition. Hopefully Intel will have something to answer. As always, what was it? Zen 5, 192 cores, 384 threads, just some massive chips nowadays that they can be able to do. But it allows you to replace racks, reduce rack space, put more in. They also talked about, what was it, Ultra Ethernet, and Ultra accelerators or whatever, talking about openness. And you've seen me on this channel before, you talk about openness. I really like that. I really like openness in a lot of these socket type, or a lot of these communication types. And they had Intel on the slide there, right? Intel is a partner. They're going against proprietary stuff, and I'm sure Intel and AMD are there working together to try to proprietary stuff. We all know who they're talking about. NVIDIA having all that, NVLink, and what their benefit is. And if I mispronounce what those links are, I do apologize. I'm trying to remember. I thought I had it written down. I didn't. So, but these links and stuff, being able to communicate, across, right in the stack or in the, your connection, and then across the Ultra Ethernet, is the next step into kind of making sure that they can compete with NVIDIA and having a standard that everyone can connect into. And then, this gets me thinking, right? And if you've watched this channel about ROCm and One API, I've had this hope that they merge together and have an open standard of One API and ROCm together. That would be really kind of cool. ROCm did get some acknowledgement there that they've been improving that. It's with more, the AI, there's a couple AI companies on there talking about ROCm and MI300. These are just iterative stuff. So overall, I think AMD is kind of putting their foot forward, trying to get back in and have, really show that they want leadership into it. And I think for the same reasons they're going to release the yearly cadence of CDNA 4 is that they want, or yearly cadence of MI, 300, 325, 350, 400. They want that yearly cadence, is that they want to also push themselves to grow in the market here where NVIDIA is dominating, and also be able to say we can push technology and be a leader in this market. And we'll have to see where Intel is on this, right? Intel's going to need to come up on here, but overall, that's what AMD did. If you're looking for a desktop processor, we'll have to wait to see the X3Ds if that's something you're interested in. But the new Zen 5 is going to be out. I've been in the market for a desktop, so maybe I'll wait till Arrow Lake or the 3D processors and see where they sit. Need something to um, boost the productivity here of video editing and stuff for the channel and other stuff I do. But with that, that's what I got today about AMD. That's kind of my thoughts on this. AMD is trying to. It looks like they're putting their foot back forward in this. Except the only leadership they're not being able to do is naming. So that's kind of the rundown here. A little bit of my analysis on top of it. And I hope that all these numbers that AMD put out are, at least below, and then they can, hit over it. But we'll see once the third-party benchmarks get out, and I can really kind of put an analysis too of what Computex kind of was. So, or what these CPUs are from the Computex announcements. With that, thank you so much. I will be trying to get more videos out. Here's been just a weather craziness. We've been getting rained on like crazy. Try to get some stuff done in the yard. I like the garden too, so trying to get the garden in between these rainstorms, just causing a huge mud issue and not being able to get into certain areas. So I got that done, so now I can work on some more videos here. But thank you so much for supporting the channel. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, God bless.